Hey there, welcome to Board Game Hot Takes, the podcast where we give our immediate reactions to the hottest board games just minutes after playing them. My name's Tim.
This is Adam.
And I'm Jen.
And today we're going to give our hot take review on the board game we just finished playing, Carpe Diem. Before we jump into a description of the game, I just wanted to call out another review on Apple Podcasts from a listener. Left a really nice review from Larnth, and he left this review about a month ago. Says, love listening to this crew, went back and listened from episode 1 to current. Really love the variety of personalities, game preferences, and honest opinions. I especially like that these folks aren't afraid to disagree with each other about key features of the games they play. Helps me make informed decisions about what to try next. Thanks, Larnth. That is basically our mission statement, so glad that you're enjoying it and getting something out of it. Hey, if anyone else wants to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, we would love it. Really appreciate it. Helps other people find us. It also tells us that you are having fun and listening to the show. Makes it worthwhile for us to keep doing it. All right, well, let's jump into a description of Carpe Diem. In Carpe Diem, you play as wealthy builders in ancient Rome, trying to build up the nicest estates by collecting buildings and garden features for your land and placing them in a way that will meet personal and public scoring objectives. The main board has a circle of 7 spaces on it, and each of those spaces has 4 tiles. On your turn, you'll move your worker to the right or left and take one of those tiles and place it in your estate. If the space you're going to move into is empty, you can keep moving to the next adjacent space that does still contain a tile. You can also spend a bread to move to any of the spaces. Tiles have to be placed adjacent to existing tiles, and each edge of the tile has to match the buildings or landscape feature on all adjacent tiles. As you place or complete buildings or landscape features, you'll get benefits related to that building or feature. Some of the benefits you may receive include one of 4 types of resources, moving up a prestige track on the board, bread tokens, endgame scoring cards, converting resources to coins, which act as wild resources, bonus tiles, or points. Also, as you cover some spaces in your estate, you'll receive a bonus move up the prestige track. When all of the tiles are taken, the round ends. At the beginning of the game, there were a set of random scoring tiles that were placed in a grid. It would be a 3x4 grid in a 4-player game. In order of the players who are furthest along the prestige track, players will place one of their scoring markers in an empty space between 2 scoring tiles. Each scoring tile has a cost in resources or a condition that player must have met, and they also have a benefit. If the player can meet the conditions of both tiles they place their token between, they will get the benefits on both tiles. But for each adjacent tile for which they can't meet that condition, they will lose 4 points. The player can turn in 3 bread instead of meeting the conditions to get the benefit though. These score tokens are not removed at the end of the round, so the available spaces to choose from get smaller over the course of the game. The game progresses like this over 4 rounds, with 4 new tiles randomly placed at each space each round. At the end of the game, players will add up the points they've collected over the course of the game, plus points for the endgame scoring cards they've collected and met, plus points for placing buildings in specific locations in their estate, plus a half a point for any leftover resources, bread, or coins they have at the end of the game. The player with the most points is the winner. Carpe Diem was designed by Stefan Feld and is published by Alea. I've got a couple of specific questions for Adam and Jen tonight that are a little unique. First, I want to start with Adam, because Adam, I don't think this is your type of game. I don't think that you have shown a lot of love for your past Stefan Feld experience, and I don't think you're a big fan of dry Euros. So what I want you to do is dig deep and tell me what you did like about this game first. To find something that felt unique to you and that you want to mention here.
All right, so here's the thing. To address the first half of that, I was thinking about that. I said, why aren't these games my kind of games? And then I try to imagine you and Jen sitting around, and it seems like this is a game you guys would very much enjoy. So I try to envision like the circumstance, the mentality under which we play together versus the mentality where you and Jen play together. So I imagine a glass of wine and some snacks and chit chat about this and that as you guys are playing this game. That's what I imagine. And like maybe Danielle's there too, right?
Yeah, that's probably reasonably accurate.
But is it more casual, or is it just casual on the outside and then there's an intense like desire to win on the inside? What's it like?
Well, yeah, so I would say that, yeah, our experience is, I mean, when we play together, it's more casual than like when you, me, Steve, Chris play together and we're, head-to-head battling something. But I mean, I don't know, I'm still like trying my hardest. I'm still a tryhard. I'm still going to try to optimize every decision within a realm of keeping the game flow going. I'll think long enough to feel like I've at least put my eyes on the board and I'm making a reasonable decision there. So I wouldn't say that my decision process is any different, but the experience when we're playing together is probably different than the
Right.
experience when I'm playing with Jen and Danielle.
And Jen, what's it like for you? Because when we're playing like Eclipse, Chris and Tim and Steve and I, we are into it. We're like want to win. It's like no holds barred. So what's it like for you?
I think there's a competitiveness to us. We definitely don't just play to show up, right? There's definitely a desire in all of us to win, but it's just such a good natured desire to win. And there's a camaraderie about it, and it makes the gameplay, fun, and like all those different pieces that you said about it make it, I don't know, just it builds community, and that's super important to me. But I think there is a streak though. I mean, we definitely there's table talk, there's trash talk. There is when there's a streak going, we make it very aware if you're the winner, if you're the loser. But it's so incredibly good natured, which listening and watching you guys play at the same time, I know it's the same thing. There's just a different intensity level. I think you hit it like right on.
Right.
It's all happening. It's just at a different intensity level.
Well, hold on a second though, because did you hear when the final scoring happened and Jen won by 2 points? The whoop that just went like the yelling and screaming that happened from her side of the mic. Do you really think she doesn't have an intense desire to win these games?
Well, way to give it away in the trailer there, Timothy. I think that we're gonna save that one for later. But it was unexpected that I was gonna actually come in as the grand champion of the first time playing this game, but it happened and it felt good. And I don't know. I let the world know.
Well, I want to know what you're getting to, Adam, because I don't really think that I play differently. I mean, there are people that I will play differently with or more gentle with, but when I'm sitting down with Jen and Danielle playing a Stefan Feld game, I don't play any differently than when I'm playing with you guys. I'm always trying to make my optimal move, and I care, So I don't know. What are you getting at? Why do you ask that question?
I think I definitely have a different mentality when I play something like this versus something like Eclipse.
Okay.
And I don't know why I do that. Like, why does my brain snap into this? Okay, pay attention, try super hard. And maybe it's just because maybe I'm just bad at these kind of games. So I'm just like, I'm going to pretend I don't want to try that hard. So the pain isn't as bad when I don't, when I lose by 20 points.
I'm going to jump in here. I love playing a good, as you called it, dry. I'm not sure. I feel a little insulted by that label, but a mid-level Euro. I love playing them with you, Adam. I don't know why you would not like them. Maybe it's because, I don't know, I like winning when we play together though too. So that could be part of it.
I definitely have fun and I enjoy myself. Maybe it's just because I always lose. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. That could be it.
Are you saying that you're like when you're playing a game like this that you don't feel as motivated, you're not as excited to put your best effort forward, you just want to kind of let it go and take it more easy?
That's totally
okay.
Thanks for filling in the words there. Yeah, my brain doesn't snap into that kind of mode where I want to try hard and like figure out the puzzle. And I don't know why that is. I was just kind of thinking about that as weird.
Yeah, do you think it could be just because of the theme? Because these are pretty abstract and fairly themeless, and so you don't feel like, hey, I'm out I'm out going on a mission and trying to conquer something. And here it's more just like, well, I want to fit these couple things together, and it just isn't as driving. Like,
yeah, I think that might be it. Like, there's no inspiration. I need a game to inspire me. So yeah, maybe if this was rethemed or something, I might get into it a little more with a little more character instead of just a vineyard and a garden, but maybe some old car parts out there. Maybe like an old rubber pool that's just been sitting out in the front yard for a while. Just things like that to spice it up a little bit rather than some, again, this is some town back in ancient history that had a vineyard and a garden and a couple buildings. So it's the same old kind of thing there, I guess.
Well, tell me, do you like the parts? So the parts where we kind of go off script, and it happens like halfway to 3/4 of the way through the game, and all of a sudden, we can go back to, I don't remember, was it the Everdell, right? Like when all of a sudden we had a Costco trip going, right? And then this time, we decided to label it as different cities based on what was going on. Like, is that an enjoyable piece to you, or is that point has your brain turned off turned down, let's say? And then you're not enjoying it as well? Is that you keeping it more exciting, or is that you becoming more engaged and liking it more?
I guess these games bring out, I have to add something. I have to add some kind of spice, some kind of flair to it. So yeah, the fact that I could see these different cities and, Tim's got a very upscale organization going on, and master plan community we have over here. So adding that kind of flair to it and making a story of it is something that I absolutely love about these games. And I don't know why these games generate that kind of storytelling. My brain just goes places, wants to like build on it, I guess.
Well, there was no 1993 Jeep Wrangler, which was unfortunate, but I feel like in your version of this game, there definitely would be. And on that note, Tim is losing it, and I definitely see steam coming out of his ears. So let's get on with the show.
Well, first, I think it's funny that there seems to be just a running thematic thread through every once in a while when Jen drops in and graces us with a president on a podcast, and the same like story keeps getting told. Like you have to go back if you ever want to know what we're actually talking about when Jen's on the podcast. You got to go back and find every other episode that she was on and listen from the start and come forward before you'll actually get the sense.
It's like a scavenger hunt. We could actually, what we could do is we could have prizes for people that listen to everyone, and then we'll have like a quiz. I'm all in. Let's do this.
Anyway, so Adam, going back to that. So you kind of explained, why you aren't as excited, and that's fine. But tell me, with that understanding that this is not your type of game, did you find anything that anything particular mechanically that you still found unique or enjoyable here?
You know what I did? The scoring phase was interesting. I think that stood out.
Yeah.
So, there's a grid of these cards and you put your little circle and it's going to end up between, it's going to be adjacent to two scoring tiles. And it's what is a 3x3 grid? I guess whatever the math works out.
3x4 grid, I think it was.
3x4 grid. So by the end of the game, as you're filling in the circles with your circles, there's fewer and fewer spots to score off of. So I thought that was an interesting, okay, I'm going to go for these early, get some points. Or maybe I see that I think Jen and Tim are both going for this scoring area. So I'm going to put my circle here and block one of them out from potentially getting the most points. I think there's a really nice bit of strategy right there. So that was cool.
Yeah, I think that is the most unique thing about this game. Like, there's a lot of fun little puzzles going on, little fun scoring opportunities. Very much a point salad, which Stefan Feld is known for. Where you can basically do all kinds of different stuff and get points. But that scoring was super cool and kind of cutthroat and kind of mean. I like that the game started you with some points in your hand before you even started, just so that you could possibly lose them in the first round if you didn't plan well enough, or someone blocked you out of it. That's kind of a clever mechanism. But yeah, the way that you scored at the end of each round, that was cool. That was very neat. Jen, so I've got a special question for you now as well that is going to tie into mechanisms, but I'm going to go back to the first time I taught you Castles of Burgundy, which is one of your favorite games at this point. When I first taught it to you, you didn't seem to enjoy it that much. I don't think you like learning new games a whole lot. I think I had to talk you into playing a second game before you actually started to enjoy it. Being a fan of Castles of Burgundy, I kind of expect you to come in here and maybe be disappointed that it didn't kind of meet your current love of that game because you had to learn a new version. But you played one time. How did this feel to you comparatively on a first time experience?
It felt like a warm hug from a good friend. I think that's the best way to describe it, because it was like you called it like a midweight Euro. To me, it was lighter than that. It definitely was an easier learn. I mean, we watched the video earlier this afternoon, like of someone explaining it. So I got about 15 minutes worth of understanding, of which 3 or 4 minutes I paid total attention to. That's just me being transparent. And so once we get started, I really was learning as I went. Yeah, it felt nice. It felt familiar. It felt like, okay, I'm gonna pick my tiles, and then I have limited resources, and then I'm gonna play something and make a commitment. But if those tiles don't come up in the future, then I have, an open-ended vineyard over here, and that's just going to sit there and do me no good for the rest of the game. And so it reminded me a lot of when you get like an 8-tile board with the buildings and Castles of Burgundy, and then you don't get the technology tile that allows you to place 2 in a section, and you're betting on getting all 8 of those in a variety, and it just doesn't happen. But there's neat other ways to score points. Okay, I can't place anything. I can place a tile off to the side, and it'll get me a half point or a point later. I like that. I wanted to double down a little bit on the fact that you had to have those 2 cards during the scoring phase. That was really unique, right? The fact that you had to have 2 things, next to each other in order to achieve those points. It just, at first, it made my brain go blank. I was like, what? I don't understand this at all. No matter what I did, I couldn't wrap my head around it until I'd seen the entire scoring phase done by each of us. And at the end, I was like, oh, this is kind of like an evil genius way of scoring the end round scoring. So I really enjoyed that.
Is this, would you say, different enough from Castles of Burgundy, or do you like it more or less than Castles of Burgundy?
I like it today the same or less. I would want to play tomorrow this game again if you ask me which one I'd want to play, because I have like the hots for it right now, right? And so I'd want to get like wrap my brain around it and do a little bit better next time, because I didn't again fully even know what I was doing. I was just pressing buttons or just moving pieces, however you want to say it, for that first entire round, because I was just throwing things on the wall and hoping that they would stick. But then once we got going, I got it, and my brain wants to feel that again. And just kind of get more strategy involved, get a little more of the intensity. Again, it doesn't build to that point, but get a little more of that intensity, I think would be a lot of fun. Again, that being said, it's still like, it's not like evil stepsister, but it's like half sister, probably invited to most family reunions, right?
I get it. That makes sense to me. Yeah.
I want to kind of go back to what I think you said, Jen, and that is that this was an easier entry to you than your original play of Castles of Burgundy. And maybe that's because it's a little lighter weight, but maybe also because it's you're more familiar with some of the Euro mechanisms at this point. Maybe it felt a little bit familiar.
I think if reflecting on what you said, I think if we introduced it to a brand new person, I think that they would think it was probably just the same level as Castles of Burgundy. But tomorrow I might feel differently thinking about it.
Yeah. Okay. Adam, I want to address your question as well that you asked, was it different enough from Castles of Burgundy? And when I was watching the rules video, and by the way, that wasn't just some guy that you watched the video from, that was the Rodney Smith. So when I watched the Watch It Played video for Carpe Diem, I was watching the gameplay and the setup, and I was thinking it was going to feel very much like Castles of Burgundy. Like, basically on your turn, you have some restriction to what tiles you can choose, and then you choose that tile and you place it on your personal player board, and it gives you some bonus depending on which tile you placed and where. And so it has all those similarities of Castles of Burgundy. But to me, it did feel different enough to feel like a different experience, and I'll want to play one of them sometimes and one of them at other times. And I don't think neither one of them is necessarily going to fire the other game. I think that they give a different enough feel that they're still fun to play around with both experiences. So that was my feel after one play of this.
I'll be curious to see, now that we know how to play, what the actual game length is for, three players, which is our standard gameplay for the most part. I'll be curious to see if this one is longer or if Castles of Burgundy is longer, because I'm sure like someone else could answer that question, but I'll be curious to see what our flow is.
Well, I think that's a really interesting question, because I think my feeling about Castle of Burgundy has always been that it slightly overstays its welcome, like just slightly. Since the first time I played it, I've always loved the game, but I've always felt like by the time you get through the fourth round, it should have ended at that point or something like that, and it goes just that one extra round further. On this first play tonight, it kind of felt the same way. Like maybe it should have been, the grid should have been one row and column shorter, and it should have ended after 3 rounds. And it would have felt like the right length of time for the experience we got out of it. That being said, I think this is going to be a shorter play than Castles of Burgundy after you get comfortable with playing, I think.
I'll be curious to hear what other people who've played this more than once, like with their last, so rewind, I'll start from the beginning of my story, I guess, or my anecdote, is that our last phase,
Does it have to do with a Jeep Wrangler?
You're so funny! So there's the 4 phases or whatever they're called. The fourth one, we blew through it. There was button pressing. It was like, so Steve, just about every time he played, knew exactly what he was doing, and he moved his pieces, and he was done in like 3 seconds. And each one of us had varying times. But that last final phase, it felt like we all blew through our turns really, really fast. And I'm curious if that effect was because we had gotten really good at the game, or because it kind of expedites in that final round, because a piece we didn't share is in that final round, is that every piece that's available to place is an end piece, right? So you can only finish something off or start something. You can't like make it a little bit bigger and then wait to finish it off. So do you think that is, again, were we experts at that point in time? Were we more focused at that point in time, or is that round designed to be quicker?
That's interesting, Jen. That last note that you just touched on. Many factors would make that last round much quicker. The fact that there are only end pieces, the fact there's so many less spaces on your board to put those pieces. And if that is intentional, which it seems like it very much was, that's a cool kind of crescendoing quick fire rapid into a game. I think that's really, really fun.
Yeah, that's a good point. That last round definitely felt like it was just a wrap up, and it was intended to do that because it only gives you those end pieces. So if anyone's stuck with something they're trying to fill in at the luck of the draw, like that happened to you tonight, Jen, I think, because there was no vineyard pieces in there, but with the luck of the draw, you probably can close out almost anything you need to. You can't really start new puzzles. So it probably did speed it up, but it also helped you get that completed feeling where if it was just a bunch of random pieces in the last round, you might have ended up with a bunch of extra leftover open spaces that would have made it less fulfilling.
So, Jin, I suspect your suspicion is that this game is shorter than Castles of Burgundy?
It feels like it, even though it played longer for us tonight. I think it might play shorter than Castles of Burgundy, which I think would be good, especially if that final round is as fast as it is, because then it solves that piece that Tim's talking about, where the last round of Castles of Burgundy is like, oh my God, just rush through it, or oh my God, we just want to go home now, or oh my God, I'm so hungry, right? Whatever it is. I think my gut tells me yes.
Yeah.
You think so?
I think so.
All right, cool. Jen, were there any other particular mechanisms or kind of gameplay pieces that you wanted to chat about?
No, I think we talked about those mechanisms a lot.
Yeah, I'll just mention that one of the things I've noticed here, I've been a big fan of Castles of Burgundy for a long time, and believe it or not, we host a board game podcast, and this is only my second Stefan Feld, so that should go to show you what kind of authority we actually have here. But I was glad to get to play it. I have a feeling, though, that I would probably get burnt out on this type of heavy point salad without too many more games, because I think the challenge with it is that it, in the past, I used to like this. I like the little, hey, you get a bonus for almost everything you do. But I really didn't have any idea what direction to go here. Like, I didn't feel like there was any clear, obviously you were going for those the end round bonuses, and that was great. And that's probably where most of the points should come from. But otherwise, I had no idea whether creating a lake and getting some fish or building chimneys or whatever, like it was all just so much. I could probably be doing anything. And as long as I finished things off and hit my edge round bonuses and hit the end, the edge of the board bonuses and hit the end round bonuses, I'd probably be about as optimized as I could do. And it probably didn't matter which buildings I built or, what type of resource I collected. And so and I think Castle of Burgundy is starting to feel that way a little bit too, where it's like, do I pick this tile or this tile? It doesn't probably matter that much as long as I complete this section in the quickest time I can. And I don't think that there's enough clear strategy as to I'm doing this thing and it's having an impact. And I used to not care about that, and I'm starting to feel like that's more important to me in games. So it's just something after playing a second of Stefan Feld's games and getting the same types of feels from Castle of Burgundy. I think this that's kind of leading me in that direction. I still think I'll really enjoy playing it, but that's just something I learned from this play.
Interesting shift.
So, Adam, anything else you wanted to chat about on mechanisms?
No, just you alluded to it. There's a couple different avenues it gives you to go when you're starting off as far as directions, but it's nothing concrete, so it gives you, like you said, the little build a house that crosses this intersection or build a vineyard that crosses this intersection. And then you can look at those scoring tiles over there and you'd see like, oh man, look at all those. You're right. It's just kind of wide open, which what am I going to do here? Whatever I want, I guess. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. All right. Well, sounds good.
Nope, just to be clear, it totally does matter. We can recap the score a little bit later, but
that's why you won.
totally matters. Let's talk truth. There are opinions, and then there are facts. These are facts. Those are opinions. It's cool.
I'll mention one other really minor mechanism, and then we'll move on. And this is related to the scoring mechanisms again, and that's that the person who gets to choose their scoring location first at the end of the round, you have to move up this prestige track. So you're kind of racing up this prestige track, and that was really impactful, and I thought a fun little extra thing. There was different places you could hit that bonus, and they didn't maybe give you anything else other than moving up that track, but being able to choose those scoring places first were impactful, and you'll hear me talk about that a little bit in the moments of the game segment. So let's move into the production of this game. This is always hard when we just play online. We played on Yucata, and that makes it even harder because you don't even really get to kind of get a sense for what the components and stuff feel like. But I will mention, from a production perspective, this game was released in 2018, to a lot of people saying it was an ugly production. It was just re-released in 2021 with a new updated production. And, it doesn't look drastically different, but it is improved from my perspective. So if you look at it, tiles for the board are a little bit more differentiated. It's a little easier to tell what they are. They're a little bit more brightly colored. I think the production is okay. It feels very much like a traditional Alea Stefan Feld game. It's nicer looking than Castle of Burgundy, at least the 2021 version is, but it's not like a super far shot out from there. And it's just cardboard chits and some wooden pieces. So nothing spectacular from a production perspective, but I do like the newer version more than the older version from what I've seen of it. Adam, anything you have to add to that with the production?
Not much. The white bordered cards, your favorite, Tim, that are the scoring points in the actual game production seem kind of strange.
Yeah, that was funny to me. The idea of having cards to track your scoring was pretty interesting. It was an interesting choice, and I would have been probably okay with it if it weren't for the fact that they used the classic ugly white border Euro cards. So thanks for calling that out. That's a good point.
That's all I got. Otherwise, pretty uneventful production, squares and muted colors.
Jen, anything to add?
Looking at it online, I saw that there was the change from Castles, which is there's, the teal, the fish are teal, right? The grapes are a vibrant purple.
Oh, it's not all greens.
No, it is. It's 17 shades of green did not happen here. And so that was a little bit different and nice. Even, the colored markers, you could tell whose was whose. And that was a little bit different. So they put those primaries in there. Does it work? I'm not sure. I got a kick out of some of the tiles because, they look like something else, right? I called, what was it, the bank or something like that? The market, it looked like a bumblebee. So then it became the bumblebee. Where'd you place your bumblebee, right? The dinosaur was the bread house or the bakery or whatever. And so that's how I would identify them. So I just really appreciate the designers making them look slightly like something else.
I don't know if that was intentional.
I don't know. We do appreciate them. They did a great job there. Fantastic job, guys.
Yeah, there's a dinosaur and there's a bumblebee. And so I placed lots of bumblebees and got lots of points. So I'm thankful for the bumblebees.
All right.
Yeah, I liked it. Again, it was more vibrant. I think that's the word that we have to use. It was vibrant might be a stretch for some of you, but I think if we compare it to Castles, it's vibrant.
Yeah, I agree. I think the production's nicer than Castle of Burgundy, but it's not going to blow you away. Let's jump into favorite moments of the game today. I'll start with this one. It wasn't a big deal, but it was, I think, the end of the second round. I kind of set myself up to go after a specific set of scoring bonuses. I was already excited to do it, and I had been moving up that prestige track pretty well. And somehow we're coming into the last turn of the round, and Steve jumps like 3 spaces ahead of me. There's no way I can catch up to it. And I just know he's going to take that space, but I'm hoping he's not going to take it. And then he takes his scoring bonus, and he takes exactly the space I wanted. And there was no other place that I could get 2 scoring bonuses in that round. So that was the first part of it, except that then I go to the space where one of the bonuses for taking one of those scoring things was to get a resource. And it gave me a coin, and that actually let me trigger the bonus right next to it. So I didn't only get that tense, oh, he took my space, frustrating moment, but then at the same time I got this moment of discovery during that scoring phase, which to me was really fun and something I didn't see coming into it. I wasn't planning around it. So I enjoyed that whole scoring was just fun to me. So that was my favorite moment of this particular game.
Yeah, I'll piggyback here. Steve was just so smooth about it. He's like, yep, that was a spot you wanted, wasn't it, Tim? And you too, Jen. So I'll go ahead and take this. So it was just so smooth.
Yeah, he knew. He was watching our boards. We weren't watching our boards that closely. He was watching everybody's boards. He knew exactly what everyone else was going to be able to score off of.
He knew exactly what he was. It was pretty slick. That was the moment for me. Steve was just on the ball at that point and did not miss at all. And he called you out, called Jen out. He didn't care about me because I was in dead last already that early in the game. So he made the move, and it was a good one.
For your sake, Adam, I will call out one more moment, and that is that you were dead last, but you did a shockingly good move on the final scoring the scoring round as well. There weren't many, so you were the last person on the prestige track, so you were going to be the last one to pick your scoring bonuses. I didn't think you'd have any options, maybe one, and you managed to trigger 2 and dump a whole bunch of resources. I think you had a pile of gold. And you managed to dump a pile of gold and got 17 points in the final scoring, which was 3 times as much as I got in any scoring the whole time. So it didn't get you far enough to catch up, but it still was a huge jump, especially when you had so few options available. So I thought that was pretty impressive that you managed to pull that off.
I wish that was super intentional. That was kind of a stumble backwards into a gold mine type situation. So I'll take it.
Well, nice. How about you, Jen? What was your favorite moment of the game tonight?
It's probably that same moment, but just from the outsider's perspective. It was when Adam was sitting there at the end trying to figure out what his final move was going to be. And you guys were we're looking at it collaboratively. And I love that, right? Like the concept of us playing this game for the first time. We were competitive. Adam was not going to win. That's cool. But it felt like a team effort in order to get him across the finish line as fast, as far as he could get, right? In that sense. And so it just felt like we definitely always play these games for the first time to learn, to be competitive, and to really have fun. And so I don't know. I like that. I thought that was like a fun little collaborative moment.
Your favorite moment of the game wasn't when Adam clicks the final finish turn button and then your score knocks me over by 2 points when it would seem clear that I was going to win the game. That was in the moment that you shared and whooped into the air. That wasn't the moment.
Well, so to give some context, what had happened was that Adam was the last player, and that Tim, I had asked him, I was like, hey, because I was 2 or 3 points behind at this point, and I was like, Tim, did our final scoring for those? I didn't identify that it was the cards, the bonus cards or whatever I don't know what they're called, that were going to be final score. You're like, oh yeah, it's as soon as you finished your turn, it was all in there. And I was like, oh, bummer, man, but played a really good game. That was awesome. And then Adam presses the button and the scores all recalculate, and I was at 100 and Tim was at 98. And I didn't see it coming. And so I don't think I've ever really reacted like that to a win before, but I had already like resigned myself to first runner up and was really excited about that performance. But yeah, it was
an inhale gasp of exultation. It was booming. It was awesome.
It was fun. I know that that's safe with you guys to be excited about a win like that and not have it be a bad thing. So it was fun. So thank you.
It was great.
No, it was definitely a blast. All right. Well, would you guys request to play this game again? Jen, let's start with you.
Yeah, definitely. I like the concept that it's like one of my favorite games, but a little lighter in theory. And it's something new to wrap my brain around for a little while. And it's a little more vibrant to look at. And none of the tiles have been dropped in a glass of wine at this point. And so rumor has it that it might be on a table in the near future. So I'll hand this one over to Tim. Tim, what about you?
This game was fun. And I told Jen at the end of the game night that if someone else will play a game with me, I will definitely get it to the table, because I just like to play games, and I like that the other people at the table are having fun. So when we finished this game tonight, Jen said, hey, this would be a great game. I've got a few days without my kids, coming up here, and we're probably going to be playing lots of games together. This would be a great game to play together. So I immediately went online and ordered it, and it's going to be shipped to our house in a couple days. So we will definitely be playing it some more, and I'm happy to have some variety. If we're going to play a mid-weight dry Euro, and I love Stefan Feld's Castles of Burgundy, but I'm glad to have some variety in there. So I'll be asking to play this again.
I'll be curious to see, because I put it out there. Like, I'm betting on the fact that Danielle's going to like this one. I think it's an easy enough teach that Danielle's going to like it. And once we're all into it, I think it's going to be one of those that all three of us might ask for at any given time. And so that's exciting to me that we could have another one. Because when I think about those games that all three of us are, will ask for on our own, they're not as many. And so I think it'll be exciting to add another one to the list that maybe all three of us would request on our own.
Yeah, I think that's one of the keys for me here, is that it's got enough weight and enough interesting decisions that still makes it exciting for me to get out. Versus, there's a lot of great, fun, lighter games that you guys like to play, thinking things like Parks and Space Base, and those types of things are fine. I don't mind playing them at all, but they don't really get me too psyched up, just because they don't have as many fun, interesting decisions to think about and things to plan. And this does. It has enough layers to it to make it fun for me. That said, I'm hoping to explore some more Stefan Feld and be more impressed or more excited by the variety that he's going to bring. I know he's got a style, and I know he's kind of known for certain types of games, but I look at games like Trajan, that seems like the mechanisms are much more different than Castles of Burgundy and much more unique. And there are several others too that I want to try, that I think I might find other Stefan Felds that I like more than this. Gives me a further break from Castles of Burgundy, but I'm not sure I would find another one that would be as good of a fit for my local gaming group with my wife, Danielle, and Jen, because I do think that this is going to be a hit for you guys. I think you'll slide right into it because it is close enough to Castles, but it'll give me some variety. So I like that about it. It'll be a game that I think will get many, many more plays probably with us. Adam, would you request to play Carpe Diem again?
Well, first I want to say, I haven't dug into Stefan Feld much, Tim, because of the dry aftertaste of Castles of Burgundy, I guess. So those are just kind of the styles of game that haven't fascinated me. So it's interesting for me to get some insight as to what makes them enjoyable for other people. So would I request to play this game again? Probably not. If I was at your place and it was set up and the I don't know, and I felt into it, I would happily participate, sure, and have a fun time and talk about the tiles and the funny shapes they make and what cities they might be. Like, I actually had a great time tonight. It's fun how you can have a great time playing a game that you probably wouldn't ever request again. So I think that's interesting. So there you go. I probably wouldn't request again.
Yeah, the key is just to have good, like, awesome friends. So congratulations on that, Anna.
It's fantastic.
All right, sounds good. Well, I think that'll wrap up our conversation on Carpe Diem. We'll get into some games that we've been thinking about this week right after this. All right, welcome back. So we're going to talk about some games that we've been playing or games that we're excited about in the world of board gaming right now. And I'll start with Adam. Did you have anything to chat about this week?
The only thing I've had my eye on a little bit, I'm probably not going to back it, is Robot Quest Arena. That's by the same developers that released Star Realms and same designer. So same thing, your deck building is this cute little animation. You got these colored little robots hopping around on a map doing battle with each other. And it looks like it has some fun mechanics. Again, that is Robot Quest Arena, almost done on Kickstarter. By the time this release, you'll probably be able to late back it, but it looks like the Kickstarter is going to be over.
Do you know if Chris backed this?
He was talking about it, and it sounded like he was going to back it.
Yeah.
Have you backed it, or are you going to back
No,
it?
I haven't. I'm guessing that Chris might have because he's such a fan of Star Realms. And this looks like such a cool production. And the thing that I like about it is that, there's been a lot of examples recently of adding deck building to a board game as well. The Clank series and Dune Imperium and Lost Ruins and stuff like that. I like that this feels like that light level deck builder like Star Realms that you can probably rip out in like 20-25 minutes, but also has a little bit of a board game mechanism to it. Is the gameplay fun? I don't know. It's probably fun. It could get redundant, I guess, but I like it. I like the concept of it. I'm not going to back it because it's just probably not something I would get played a lot, but it looks fun. I'd be happy to try it sometime. Jen, is there anything at all you've been thinking about in board games this week?
And not as much. I think that we've played a little bit less. The weather's been a little hot. There's been a lot of swimming, etc. When it comes to this week, well, there is one game. The Dodgers coming through town this week, so there's going to be a Dodgers game. That's a game on Friday, and I'm excited about that.
Nobody listening knows what you're talking about.
No, they do. I lost people know. It's like America's team. There's that. So there's one game. And then the other thing is just kind of a sweet story is that my oldest was watching Danielle and Tim and I play Hearts because we're just wasting a little time, drinking some coffee the other morning. And we were playing Hearts. And my oldest was like, all of a sudden he's sitting down next to Tim, and then he's watching, and then he's asking, and then he wants to play, and then we let him play, and then we got home, and as soon as we got home, he wanted to play again, and then the next day he like walked up to me with the deck of cards in his hand, and he wanted to play. And so I just love that I'm raising a little, like card player / board gamer, because we all know that his first, game he ever got was Parks for Christmas, and then he got Forbidden Sky that he wanted for his birthday, and now he likes to play Hearts, which is simple but exciting, and I'm so glad that he likes to interact in that, I guess, is that analog? I don't know, face-to-face way.
Yeah, it's awesome. I gotta tell you, so I grew up, my family was into board games, and it's honestly probably the biggest thing that still connects us as a family. Like, I love my family. Mm-hmm. We don't have a lot in common in a lot of other ways, in a lot of other places, but when we get together, we all enjoy hanging out and just playing cards, playing board games. So I think you're really lucky, honestly, if your son is enjoying and asking for those things, because, he's going to become a teenager. Maybe you guys will have some conflict. He'll get independent, but you'll always have that activity that you guys both like to do together and enjoy to come back to. So it's really cool that he's digging that and asking for it, because it's probably a lot of good memories and time together.
And he's so sweet about it when he asks, so it's just neat.
Tim, you bring up such a great point about playing board games with family growing up. Those are some of my best memories, and I think that carries through why I like board games so much today. Some of my best memories growing up were playing poker or playing Tripoli, playing cards or board games, Scrabble, whatever, playing anything. But so those are some of the best memories, and I think that's what has given me such a strong link to board games today. I don't know. Maybe that's a little too deep and weird, but
no, I would say that's probably right. So
I don't think it's deep and weird at all. I think it's just kind of, I'd be curious. I don't know Chris's answer. I obviously know Steve's answer as Tim's brother, But I'd be curious to know what Chris's answer would be, right? Because I know that I've talked about, the importance of my family history and playing board games with Adam, with Tim, and hearing both of your stories. And so I wonder if like they can spontaneously, erupt at like 35 into a game, or if you really have to have some piece of it ingrained in you in your childhood. So
I think any hobby, you can find a passion from, but I think it is easier if you just grew up around it and love it when you start become an adult.
It feels different.
Sure.
Yeah.
I have a few games. I just thought I'd let you guys know. So a couple of weeks ago, I got to go to a second game day here in where do I live now? In Scottsdale, Arizona. It was actually in Mesa, not too far from me. But one of our listeners invited me to a local game pub, and they were doing a kind of a board game afternoon there. It was a blast. It was nice to get out. This venue is really cool. I think it's called the Silver Key Lounge. So if you're in the Phoenix area, check it out. The staff there were really nice, really awesome. It's like a full bar with a huge game library and then just tons and tons of gaming tables. I'm a beer person. Chatted with the bartender a little bit about what he recommended for an IPA. And, I tried one. He came back by my desk, by my table later where I was playing, and just asked how I was enjoying it and, wanted to bring me another. So anyway, super nice, great service there. I would love to go back again. Want to mention a few games that I got a chance to play there, and they were all games that were new to me for the first time. The first is kind of a hot new game right now. It's called MicroMacro Crime City. And this game is really what it is it's, think about if you're playing Where's Waldo, but there's a board game with it. That's what it was. Basically what this was like a 2-foot by 4-foot map that you folded out. And it was a huge illustrated map with all these buildings of a big city. In that map was just thousands of little characters drawn throughout it. And the whole game was that you had a little scenario deck. And the scenario deck, it would turn over the first card and it would say, find this character in the northwest of the city, and they would show a picture of him. And you'd be a dead character, or it'd be some crime that's happening. So you'd have to go and look on the map and find where it was. And then it would say, where did this person leave? And so you'd have to kind of look at the activity they were doing and try to decide which direction they want. And you'd look around the map and try to find where that character was next in the timeline. And then some other activities happening there. And so basically it was like a series of things where you had to answer clues by searching on this map and trying to find it. So it was literally like looking at a Where's Waldo thing and trying to find things on a map.
Okay, so when I hear Where's Waldo, I think, this is the most boring thing in my entire life is about to happen. But that's just kind of the starting thing, right? So Where's Waldo? Find this character.
No, that's the whole activity.
That's it. It's just Where's Waldo
you're going through this little scenario over and over again. Yeah. So this is a hot game right now. This is not a game for me. The reason I think is that there's not a real puzzle here, right? It's an activity where you're doing something. And that's probably better than sitting there staring at a wall a little bit. But it's not as fun as playing a board game to me. And I'll reference some other games that are similar. What's the game that you sold me, Adam?
Which there's Path of Light and Shadow?
No, the other one. The other one I got at the same time from you with the app.
Oh, Chronicles of Crime.
Yeah, so the other game that this reminded me of was Chronicles of Crime, which is also considered a board game because there is a board and there is some kind of game with it. But really what you're doing is you're like scanning QR codes and following clues across this board. It's a co-op game just like MicroMacro Crime City is. But I just didn't really get any enjoyment out of that experience of playing. Again, hanging out with friends and doing that is better than sitting around making small talk and, like people staring at their phones or something. So it's fine as an activity, but it's not, to me, a good board game experience.
Slightly better than staring at a wall.
So if I was going to be playing a game like this, a cooperative kind of activity experience, I'd rather play one of the escape room games, like the Unlock series is my favorite, or the Exit series. Like those to me are at least a more interesting and fun puzzle than these activities where you're just following clues and trying to, discover something. So that's my perspective. A lot of people like these games. This type of game is not for me, but it was cool. It was an interesting little experience. The scenarios only took like 10 minutes a piece, so it wasn't a big time suck or anything like that. But it's a really hot game right now. I think it's nominated for the Spiel des Jahres award, so it's really popular. But it's just not the type of game I want to play.
I was gonna say, I've heard so many people say so many good things about that game, and I was like ready to just do a snap by, but I'm glad you got to take a look at it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people love Chronicles of Crime too. And again, I think it's just a different type of experience than what I'm looking for in a board game. Yeah. So I probably is a great fit. It's a really clever mechanism, really clever idea. So I'm not putting it down at all. It's just not something for me. The second game I got to play was a game called Hadrian's Wall, which is a game I've really been interested in. I think Shem Phillips from Garphill Games developed this. He may have co-designed it. I can't remember if he was the designer or if he just published it, but it was published under his company. It's a big old roll and write, and basically you have like two full, I want to say they're 8x11 sheets of paper. They might be a little smaller than that are just covered in checkboxes and iconography. So it's like the most complex roll and write you could possibly imagine. But boy, did I love this game. Not only was it a roll and write, it wasn't really a roll and write. You basically like flipped over cards and that told you how many resources you had. And then you would flip over cards at the end of the round. It would tell you like where your city was going to get attacked. But they used a lot of little different colored meeples and stone to represent the types of actions you could take. At the beginning of each round, you'd flip over a card and you'd get to start with some specific meeples. Everybody did. And then each individual got to flip over two cards and pick which of those they wanted to start with meeples, and the other one turns into an endgame scoring card. So they're kind of these little multi-use cards that give you different decisions. But with all those meeples you get, then you would spend one to go and cross off this checkbox on this thing. And then you'd spend a meeple and a stone to cross off this checkbox on this thing. But that would give you another meeple of a different color. So it was all about just like doing these different activities that would lead you to different bonuses, and then they would unlock other activities you could do. And it was just a fun puzzle to me. My only concern with it was that I feel like it would get samey. What you would do in different rounds is going to be dependent on the specific bonus cards you're going for that game and the specific resources you have in a round. But they didn't feel different enough to really change my gameplay that much. So it was really fun. I'm really tempted to pick it up because I think I'd probably get half dozen or a dozen great plays out of it, but I have a feeling it probably would not keep being that interesting, and I would probably never play this with another person again. Our listener who taught it to me did a great job teaching it. It was a fun little experience, but we were both basically heads down, staring at our own sheets, almost no interaction at all. And man, it was a bear to teach. He did a great job teaching it. I don't think I'd put someone else through the trouble of learning that game for us to sit there and do our own activity while we're sitting there playing it. So fun solo game that I might pick up, but that's about it. One last game I'll talk about is a game called Manila, published in 2005, and the designer was Franz Benno Delange. I think this game's out of print right now, but essentially a betting game where you're taking worker placement spots to move these boats up a river and then betting on how far the boat would get. And you bet by taking different worker placement spots around the board. And it's like, if you thought two boats were going to get up, you'd take one spot and you'd pay a certain amount of gold. But if you were right, then you'd get more gold back. And then beyond that, everyone's dealt some shares at the beginning of the game. So you're also betting on getting boats the furthest, because the better the boats do, then the more your shares are worth at the end of the game. So a couple of different mechanisms, really simple to learn, clever but fun, exciting moments in it. Really clever game. I would definitely recommend check out Manila if you have the chance to. To me, it really truly felt like one of the earliest worker placement games, because I think it's out before things like Kalis, but it was really a worker placement game with some really fun bidding against each other opportunities.
It sounds like stock manipulation.
Yeah, it kind of was. I mean, in very simple methodology, but it had some other little mechanisms. Like there was a space you could take where you were a pirate. So if the boat happened to end exactly on the space that you were on, then you get to take over that boat. But you're kind of betting it. You know, it's like going to the casino, right? And betting on black or red, or you can bet on number 12. And if you bet on number 12, you're going to hit bigger, but you're probably not going to hit it. But there were some things you could do to manipulate how far the boat moved in around and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Really clever. We played 3 players and it went really briskly, but we had a great time just head-to-head battling for the boat we wanted to go the furthest up the track so that our stocks were worth more money and stuff. It was fun. It was very, very clever. Yeah, it felt like a classic, very streamlined compared to what you would pick up today, but still a full game in there.
Sounds awesome.
That's all I have to talk about this week. Until next week, take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening.